Hello, and welcome to Your Vote Counts, a public service program bringing local candidate interviews to you for the primary 2020 election. This is produced by Capital Community Television via remote technology in collaboration with the community groups of American Association of University Women, League of Women Voters Marion and Polk Counties, 4 neighborhood associations, and Salem City Club. For the nonpartisan contested races selected, all candidates were invited and all accepted. Candidates did not receive the questions developed by the sponsoring groups ahead of time. The candidates were asked to prepare a 3-minute opening statement telling about themselves, their qualifications, and vision for the elected position. I am Cindy Condon from Salem City Club, and I would like to introduce Terry Taylor, running for the office of Polk County Commissioner, Position 1, who will now begin with his opening statement. Thank you, Terry, for being here.
Thank you very much. I'm Terry Taylor, and I'm running for Polk County Commissioner. And my background is in technology. I graduated in computer science as well as communication. I have technical degrees in technology. I was the lead technology person for US West here in the Northwest, both Southwest Washington as well as all of the state of Oregon. So most of the technology that was implemented in Oregon in probably the last 10, 15 years was done through a group that I work with. I also have a background with project management. I have worked with 3 different Fortune 500 companies developing projects and running those projects. I've been able to take projects from conception all the way to running $20 million product in less than 18 months, which is pretty much a record in the industry that I was in. I have felt that in Polk County, we're a little bit behind some of the other counties that I look at, even small counties, like when we look at the counties that are just around us, and like in Yamhill, for example, they've done a great job marketing their county. You look at the industry that they have there, and the wine industry, and some of the ag industry that they have that they've really promoted. And you can see a huge difference when you drive through Yamhill County and then you drive through Polk County. There's a stark difference between the 2 counties. And most of that is just because of leadership. And leadership is something that I think we can definitely improve in Polk County. I believe that having a professional project manager and somebody that has marketing experience and has a lot of technology in his background could bring us into the 20th century and help us to be able to develop and promote Polk County, to bring it up to the scale of some of the counties that are even around us, and even perhaps above the counties that are around us. We have a lot of what I consider critical issues in the county, but probably the most critical issue that we are going to face is going to be the economic blowback from the coronavirus. Because of the shutdown, I believe that we could lose as much as 25% of the Polk County revenue coming the end of 2020. And we need people that know how to fix these kind of problems, prepare for these kind of problems, and make sure that we're going to be able to get through the downsizing that's going to take place.
Appreciate that. And so now let's get to some of our questions. So the first question is, many residents do not understand the role of commissioner and the things they do for the county. And so why should residents of Polk County voters be interested in this race?
Well, for the main reason for me is the fact that all of your property taxes, your county taxes, and that type of thing that go to the county, you haven't been able to vote on a lot of those things during the last 20 years. And the reason is because your county commissioners haven't put them out on the ballot. Rather than putting things up on the ballot and having you vote for them, they have promoted, for example, they've taken a 15% salary increase in the last 5 years. They've done a lot of other things that I don't believe that they should have done without your vote. So the other thing that the county commissioners are involved in is land use. We have a lot of farm property in Polk County. One of the problems that we have in agriculture is the average farmer is over 67 years old, and we don't have any programs to help implement young farmers into the industry. And I believe that we can do that. I have a plan to put together the opportunity for young people to get into farming without disturbing the current structure that we have now.
Okay, well, and on to the issues that you would bring to the table, which you feel haven't been adequately addressed.
So obviously, agriculture is one of the issues that I believe has not been addressed very well by the county. I also look at the one of the things that I have been doing my entire life is figuring out ways to save money and figuring out ways to make things happen more economically. And unfortunately, with our current commissioners, what they have been programmed to do is to just go ahead and tax you more. If they need more money, they will just tax you more rather than trying to figure out how they can save money or how they can do things so that they could reduce the cost of the products that they're doing, or the services that they're rendering. They just keep increasing the taxes. We don't need to do that. There are lots of ways that we can get around increasing taxes and doing more with what we have and learn how to spend less and save money doing things more economically.
Okay, and now just narrowing down a little bit, what are some of the unique characteristics of Polk County that will affect your role as commissioner if you're elected?
We have a couple of issues in Polk County that are very unique. One, of course, is the bridge problem. We have access to the outside world that has to go over bridges. So it really cripples Polk County's ability to be able to have a lot of manufacturing in the area, because the manufacturing would have a difficult time getting their products over the bridge. We have had a bridge project, quote, project, going on for 40 years. We have wasted so much money on this project that it's just unfathomable. The fact that we haven't had somebody that is a project manager that can make this thing go from the beginning to the end is very evident. I believe that my unique ability to be able to do project management, I can step in and I can help unstop that problem and get this bridge started and get the process so that we can eliminate a lot of the problems that we're going to have in Polk County, both in just traffic back and forth as well as being able to bring any manufacturing into the county at all.
All right, and now moving to a different topic that has certainly risen high on the priority list in the area is homelessness. Although there's been a start in aiding homeless veterans, what can be done to address homelessness in families, single adults, special needs population, and transitional centers for teens?
Well, homelessness is a really interesting term that people use, and I think that you kind of illustrated that there's a lot of different degrees of homelessness and there's a lot of different candidates for homelessness. And I think each one needs to be dealt with differently. And I'll be real specific. So in our homeless community, we have some people that are on drugs and alcohol and have other kinds of addictions. And unfortunately, they're in a position where they think that society should support them in their bad habits and allow them to live that way. Well, I believe that if we're really going to help the homeless, our goal should be to get them off the street, to help them get a job, and help them come back into the community and be solid citizens. And with the programs that we have right now, we can't achieve those things. So those programs for those particular people really need to change. When we start talking about, for example, single women that have been abandoned by their husbands or for whatever reason have other kinds of issues, we have programs in place right now. Those programs need more funding and more support. And so I would actually take some of the funding that we're using for some of the other homeless people, relocate those to what I think are more needful and better situated to make a positive impact on our community. So yeah, I'm real bully on making sure that we provide for those that need assistance, but I'm also very bully on making sure that we have people that are accountable. And if people are not accountable, if there's a mental problem or that type of thing, then we need to start implementing programs to help address that rather than putting those poor people out in the street and thinking that just giving them money is going to help people with mental problems. It's not. We have to be very focused on what we do for the homeless when we put this big umbrella of who we say are the homeless.
And now a completely different issue, water quality. How would you assess Polk County water quality, and how can water pollution be mitigated or the water quality improved?
It's interesting. I was involved in a project in California, and I sat down with the head water person for the Central Valley, and we had this long conversation about how absolutely crazy it is that when we flush our toilet, it goes into this big, huge pond, and that's the water that they clean up and send back to you to drink. And that, we have other water sources, rivers, and other kinds of things that aren't nearly as polluted or as gross as, what we get through the sewage system that we usually send out to the farmers so that they can water their crops, which is just the opposite of what should happen. We should actually be taking the sewer water, treat it very little and give it to the farmers, and we should be taking pure water that comes from streams and other things like that and purifying that and bringing it into the drinking system. So, there's just a lot of logical things that can take place to change. Just because we've done things one way for the last 50 years doesn't mean that it's a great way to do it. And we need to really look at the standards of what we want and start thinking about other possibilities of getting there that will help eliminate a lot of the problems that we've created. One of the problems obviously that we've created is we've been cycling this same sewage water now for the last 30 years. The amount of drugs that are in the water, the amount of pesticides and other chemicals that have gotten in our water because people put them down the drain and that kind of thing. All of those type of things contribute to the problems that we have in our drinking water. We need to rethink that whole process.
All right. And now related to our current situation with the pandemic. Since our current pandemic has affected our financial health, how do you suggest addressing what's likely to be decreased revenue, and increased needs from the community?
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because I believe that that is going to be the #1 critical issue in Polk County by the end of the year. And I have not seen anybody address it. I haven't seen anything remotely being looked at for solutions for those kind of problems. And those kind of problems are going to take a unique type of brainstorming, which is what I did with Fortune 500 companies. And I'll give you some examples. You need to start looking at ways that you can do things that will accomplish the things that you need to have done, but do them less expensively. There's a county in California that actually provides filling of potholes by its citizens. So once every 3 months, they provide, you come to the county, you've got a picture of your pothole so they can locate where it is. They tell you how much material you're going to need. They give it to you. They go out, they fill their own potholes, they come back, save the county thousands and thousands of dollars, and save the frustration of the citizens, a lot of frustration because they filled all their potholes. Well, that's the kind of thinking that we need to start addressing as we're going forward. We need to find ways of having the community buy in and help to resolve some of the problems that we have in less expensive ways, and definitely give us the ability to be able to put those resources in our own hands.
Moving on to transportation in the county, can public transportation be improved in the county, address senior citizen needs, and connectedness to the coast and nearby cities?
Transportation can always be improved. It's another interesting process that when I worked in downtown Portland, they were, really excited about getting the train system in and, all of those types of things. And, after 10 years of having the train system in and having all the expenses that costs, they realized that the bus system is actually less expensive and does a better job and gets people to more places and more variety of places than the trains ever will. And so we need people that, understand transportation and understand that, just because it looks flashy doesn't mean that it's the greatest way to do things. We need to really start looking at programs that work and evaluating programs that work rather than, thinking that we've got all the answers. And so we're going to, put in some flashy train system that it's going to cost a ton of money and be obsolete before we can even imagine it's going to be. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Terry, for joining us for this interview today. It's very important for the citizens of the county to know who's running, so we really appreciate that you're here for this interview today. And thanks too to Capital Community Television for the extensive efforts made to make this program happen. And thanks to you, the public, for watching in order to become a more informed voter. If you have recently moved or need to register to vote, you have until April 28th to do so. Ballots will be mailed out beginning April 29th. Remember to vote, because your vote counts.